reports about Secretary Tillerson today. Could you talk a little bit about the relationship between the President and the Secretary? Does the President have confidence in him? And does the President agree with all of the positions that the Secretary has taken regarding North Korea, the Gulf crisis, etc.?
Look, as we've said many times before, as many of you love to write these type of stories, when the President loses confidence in someone, they will no longer serve in the capacity that they're in. The President was here today with the Secretary of State. They engaged in a foreign leader visit and are continuing to work together to close out what we've seen to be an incredible year. Cecilia?
So can we deduce from that that the President has confidence in the Secretary of State?
I think I addressed that pretty clearly just now.
Is that a yes?
As I just said, and as we've said many times before, when it comes to questions like this of senior staff and cabinet secretaries, when the President loses confidence in somebody, they'll no longer be here. As the President said on the record, and several of you were in the room in the Oval today, the Secretary of State is here, and we're working hard to get big things accomplished and close out what's already been a very strong and positive year.
What's
Matthew?
his future in the administration?
I'm sorry?
What's his future in the administration?
I think his future right now is to continue working hard as the Secretary of State, continue working with the President to carry out his agenda. Matthew?
Thanks, sir. A question on taxes. The Joint Committee on Taxation says that by 2027, people making between $40,000 and $50,000 a year will pay a combined $5.3 billion more in taxes under the current bill, while those earning $1 million or more will pay $5.8 billion less. And coupled with that, the University of Chicago surveyed 38 economists. Only one said that the bill would lead to substantial economic growth, and all 38 said that the cut will increase the debt. Is it the White House position that these analyses are wrong?
I can't speak to that specific report because I haven't had a chance to look at it and talk to the economic team here. What I can tell you is what I've said every single day that we've been part of this process. The President laid out his priorities. We feel like the plans as of right now from the House and Senate meet those priorities of cutting taxes for the middle class, simplifying the tax code, bringing business back home. Those have been the big focus of the administration. Those are going to be the things we continue to fight for as we go through this tax policy. Steve?
The JCT, nonpartisan, their analysis seems to say middle class taxes would actually go up in a lot of cases.
There are several studies that say the opposite.
Does White House or the Treasury have data that would contradict that?
Yeah, and there have been several studies that say that this is a good thing for the middle class. I saw one just yesterday. We'll send it to you after the briefing concludes. But again, we're going to continue fighting for this and making sure that the middle class does receive tax cuts that they deserve and frankly that they need. And we think that we're making a lot of progress on this front, and we think that we're going to get it done by the end of the year. Steve?
Based on Ambassador Haley's speech yesterday at the UN and the President's tweet this morning, does this administration now advocate regime change in North Korea? And if not, why not?
This administration is focused on one big thing when it comes to North Korea, and that's denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. That's our #1 priority. That's what we're focused on. Anything beyond that is not the priority at this point. Jill?
Sarah, I want to ask about the videos that the President tweeted yesterday. Firstly, does the President feel that he has an obligation to ensure that the information that he shares on his Twitter feed to millions of people is accurate?
I think the President feels that bringing up important issues of our time, like extreme violence and terrorism, are important to do. That was what he was doing in that process, and I think he's going to continue to do that in a number of venues, whether it's through speeches, whether it's through Twitter or other social media platforms.
Does he understand, though, that sharing those videos might incite violence against Muslims, and does he understand that he's elevated a fringe political group that many people outside of Britain didn't even know about until
Look, I think what he's done is elevate the conversation to talk about a real issue and a real threat. That's extreme violence and extreme terrorism, something that we know to be very real and something the President feels strongly about talking about and bringing up and making sure is an issue every single day, that we're looking at the best ways to protect Americans. John?
On that point, Sarah, did the President, when he retweeted Jada Franson, know who she was?
No, I don't believe so. But again, I think he knew what the issues are, and that is that we have a real threat of extreme violence and terrorism, not just in this country, but across the globe, particularly in Europe. And that was the point he was making. And I don't really have much to add beyond that. Alex?
Sarah.
Yesterday, the president tweeted that NBC should terminate Joe Scarborough because of a, quote, unsolved mystery that took place in Florida years ago. Why did President Trump think it was appropriate to seemingly reference the death of Lori Clausis in 2001? And does he think Scarborough is responsible for the death of his former aide?
I don't have anything to add on that front beyond the tweet. April?
Sarah, a couple things. One, what was the tipping point between President Trump and Tillerson?
Like I said, I don't believe there was a tipping point, considering they were sitting here in a meeting today working hard to carry out the president's agenda. I think the tipping point is trying to do the best they can to make sure that they're making our world a better place, making America safer, and they're working together to get that done.
Is the president listening to Tillerson as it relates to North Korea, as North Korea is escalating?
The president's listening to the Secretary of State as well as the Secretary of Defense, the National Security Advisor, his Chief of Staff, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and a number of other individuals, including world leaders that he's spoken to several times this week, specifically about North Korea, and he's going to continue to do that and continue to talk to all of the relevant stakeholders. Sorry, April, I'm going to keep moving.
What about John Conyers? He's in the hospital, and there's a call for him to resign. What does the president have to say about that?
That's a decision for John Conyers to make. John?
Thanks a lot, Sarah. Back to Tillerson, where does the administration think these stories are coming from? Is it difficult, in your view, for Mr. Tillerson to carry out his job as Secretary of State with all of these questions surrounding whether or not he's going to be in the administration maybe through January of next year?
Look, I don't know where those stories are coming from. I don't try to spend most of my day figuring that out. I'd rather focus on the points that I know and the points that we're driving through the administration. And the Secretary of State's a pretty tough guy. I think he'll be just fine carrying his job out. Blake?
Sarah, we often hear the president or see the president talk about the stock market. We haven't yet heard from him, though, on a separate but similar issue, which is cryptocurrency. Has the president been following this at all? Bitcoin specifically, the major run-up in it. Does he have an opinion on it? Does he feel, or does the administration feel, that this is now something that needs to be regulated by the government?
I know this is something that is being monitored by our team here in terms of specific briefings and announcements on it. I don't have anything that I can share with you right now, but we'll be happy to follow back up with you. I'm sorry?
What kind of monitoring?
Well, look, this is an issue. I know that Tom Bosser with the Homeland Security team and advisor to the president has brought this up in a meeting earlier this week. I know it's something that he's keeping an eye on. We'll keep you posted when we have anything further on it. Stephen.
Sarah, I'm sorry to hear you're not feeling well. Actually, I hope you feel better. I have a question about the president's health. Mr. Trump's predecessors, going back, I've checked as far as Ronald Reagan. Every year would go up to Bethesda to be looked at by the best doctors in the military, and they would report on their health and the vital statistics to the American public. We have a month left in the year. Does President Trump intend to get a physical at Walter Reed?
I'd have to ask. That's not something I've checked on, but I'd be happy to check on it.
If the president intends to share any details about his health, the way his predecessors have?
Well, like I said, I haven't asked him that, but I'd be happy to check. I do know that I spent 12 days on the road with him in Asia, and despite the fact that he's a little bit older than me, he had twice the energy that I do, and I'm the one sick now, and he's still going. So I think he's in pretty good health, but I'll be happy to share any information. Tolu?
Thank you, Sarah. You read the verse from Luke earlier about how to those who are given much, much is expected. Linking that to tax policy, the president said yesterday that this tax bill is going to cost him a fortune. Independent analysis says that that's not true, that he's actually going to save a lot of money and his family could save more than $1 billion. So can you tell us specifically what in the bill is going to cause the president to pay more in taxes than he's paying now?
Yeah, I think some of the provisions in the bill, which may or may not be there, we'll see what the final piece of legislation looks like, but a lot of the deductions that he would probably normally receive may not be part of the package that would affect his actual what he pays in taxes. But again, until there's a final piece of legislation, I can't go into much more detail, but I know that some versions of it take out a lot of those deductions that currently benefit the president and his family. Take one last question here.
What's the president's response to the stiff review?
I'm sorry, I'm going to go right here.
The president was pretty definitive yesterday when he said he would pay more, that his wealthy friends would pay more. So what was he referring to?
Well, like I just said, I believe his reference was to a lot of the deductions that may no longer exist that are in the current policy right now. Again, we'll have to see what the final piece of legislation looks like. Our focus as an administration has been to focus on middle-class tax cuts. That's why I think the president doesn't care whether or not he gets a tax cut or not, but his focus is on making sure that the middle class and middle class families get those tax cuts, that we simplify the process, and that we bring companies back home so that they can invest here. Margaret, I'll take one more question.
Sarah, you repeatedly said that Tillerson helped to close out a successful year. Are you saying that he will close out the year? Will he serve beyond that? And when you're talking about elevating the conversation here, does the president normally watch these kind of anti-Muslim videos that have been posted by this group? I mean, is that
I'm not sure every single video the president has viewed. In terms of the Secretary of State, I think I've spoken about that pretty extensively and answered that question.
Deliberate by you. Were you really mean?
We're all closing out the year. You guys are closing out the year in your news network. We don't set the calendar. That's something that happened a few centuries ago. The year is going to end whether we like it or not. We're all going to close it out, and we're all going to do the very best job we can for the American people in that process. I don't mean anything by it more than that. I'm closing out the year. You guys are. I know most of you are doing end of the year stories because that's how the calendar works. The year ends, and we're going to end on a really strong note, and I think we're going to end the briefing on a strong note, and I'm going to go get some water and a few cough drops.
Sarah, what about Prime Minister May?
Our team will be around the rest of the afternoon to answer any other questions you guys have. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Before he posts them.
Thank you very much for joining us and choosing us as your stream of choice. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Jen. I'm from Golden State Times. If you are new to the community, subscribe to the channel using the red button below or on your screen. You'll see our logo. It's interactive. It'll give you the option to subscribe. Also, make sure to check out our previous video that should be coming up on your screen. And visit our website, goldenstatetimes.com. Again, that's goldenstatetimes.com. Or you can click the button on the right side of your screen. It's interactive. It'll take you to our website. Make sure you go and check it out. Also, sign up to our newsletter using the link in the description below or on our website at goldenstatetimes.com. It's called the GST Wrap-Up, and it's a newsletter that is sent straight to your inbox with all the news, updates, the president's schedule, any upcoming streams, or anything like that. So make sure you guys sign up. If you'd like to help out Golden State Times stay on the air, please contribute using the links in the description below, and we thank you very much in advance. Again, we hope that you guys join the community if you are new by subscribing, and I hope to see you guys here next time. My name is Jen, and I'm from Golden State Times, and I'll see you soon. Peace.